All right, good morning, people of YouTube. So we are back again today with another Bt9 deck profile. This time we have the deck that just won't die. This is going to be Imperialdramon. So Imperialdramon has existed as a deck since the 1.5 times, for those of you that were playing back then, and it's always been in the meta. We thought the deck's, prime time to shine was last format in BT8, and that is kind of true. But for those of you that still want to play the deck does what every other OTK deck in the format wants to do, and by just simply OTKing your opponent. The thing this deck has going for it that a lot of other OTK decks don't is that this deck actually has a solid defensive backbone now, with some of the cards that we get in BT9 and some of the adjustments that I've made to this list. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and without further ado, we will go ahead and get into the deck profile. The only egg you need is 4 copies of this Demi-Vmon. It draws you cards. You'll always have jamming. So on to the rookies. I got 2 copies of Madoki Beta. Every OTK deck wants to play upwards of 3 to 4 memory boosts, so this is very important for turning them off. I played 2 copies of Labramon. So this is going to be a change from the BT8 meta, and you'll see the reason for that whenever I get into the level 4s and higher. But Labramon is a great card. You're usually going to have jamming, so attacking and drawing a card or attacking and gaining a memory is really, really nice. This resets whenever you Jawgrass into Paildra and gives you an extra memory, so that's super, super cool. So I do like the Labramon. And these are the only non-Vmon rookies that we are playing. So for the rest of the rookies, I got 4 copies of the Vmon from EX1. This says if I unsuspend, I gain a memory. This in conjunction with Labramon is how we are gaining a bunch of extra memory, and that is really, really nice. So for the rest of it, we got 4 copies of the ST9 Vmon. This card helps us search extra pieces. Honestly, I'm thinking about cutting one of these for a 3rd copy of the BT3 Vmon, the one that has jamming. So currently I'm playing 2 of the BT3 Vmon and 4 of the ST9 Vmon. ST9 Vmon grabs us all of our key combo pieces, all of our Digimon that we want to be searching, except maybe Madoki Betamon, are free attribute. So I do really, really like this card, but I think the jamming might be more important. And this card is super important because we are playing more Magnamons in this list now. Swinging with jamming, getting the free check, and then evolving into Magna to unsuspend, and then getting another swing is super solid in an OTK meta. Especially a deck that wants to chip your opponent down, like this one, where you're just relying on constant streams of damage. So these are the rookies that I am playing in the list. I am playing a solid 14 of them because I do want to open them. On to the level 4s. I got the 4 copies of XVmon and the 4 copies of Stingmon. This is obligatory. You have to play these cards in pretty much every Imperial list. XV gives you jamming in your stack and has jamming. Stingmon gives you the free body for the Jawgrass and lets you draw extra cards. So this is where my list is going to differ a little bit. I'm only playing 2 copies of Lightramon, but I am playing 2 copies of Magnamon. So there is a reason for this. Since we are in an OTK meta, Magnamon is super important for stopping that OTK, but also it's just a really good card for providing offense. Like I said, with the jamming Vmon, you can swing in, evolve into this, unsuspend, and then get another swing. Having extra armors in the deck to feel safer whenever you're swinging at security is nice. And I am going lower on the Lightramon count since there will be less level 4 sticking on board this format, theoretically. This card is really, really good for removing the memory blockers like Madoki Beta and Terriermon, Gazimon, cards like that. So the Lightramon is super important. The biggest part about this card is that it's a blue and a green card. So it fulfills all of our Jawgrass requirements for Paildra. Part of the same reason it was good last set too. And this is also part of the reason why we're including so many Vmons in the list, and why we are cutting down on the Labramon count, is because I did have to make room for these armors, and these armors get more value from evolving off of Vmon than anything else. So I do really like the inclusion of Magnamon in this format. and I think it's more important than including it last format for sure. So going on to the level 5s, I got 4 copies of Paildra. This is still your bread and butter. It's how you're winning the game. I got 1 copy of Dinobemon. This card is pretty niche, this format. If you can stop your opponent from OTKing you, and then you can go into Dinobemon, then you just go, well, I get another turn to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do. But most importantly, the reason that everybody should be playing Dinobemon at the higher levels of competitive play is because of the inheritable. If you can put fighter mode up to 14,000 and make it so that you're only dying to level 7s in security, the fighter mode OTK becomes much more live. So the 1 copy of Dinobemon is important for that. Lastly, I'm playing 1 copy of Chimera. This card falls off a little bit this format because there aren't as many wide boards. But if you go against something like Armor Rush or against Beelstar, you're going to be thankful that you have this card in the list. Plus, this card hits 4 colors really easily by getting blue-green and then Magna from your trash under it, which is pretty easy. So you can get this card up to 12,000, like, no problem. But also, you know, it has the same generic play where you pull the Magnamon back out from under it, and then you can do the Dragon mode play and pull the Magnamon back out. That's super nice, but mostly Chimeramon is in here, so that way, if I don't have specifically a blue and a green, I can still Jawgrass. So, I do like the card. It's nice, but I do think the Dino Bee and the Paildra are a little bit more important in this format. So, going on to the level 6s. I got 2 copies of Fighter Mode. This is arguably the most important level 6 in the deck because it helps set up the OTK by being able to swing twice with Paildra, once with the XVmon, and then evolve into this, and then go Ken Davis, and then unsuspend this, and then swing 2 more times. Fighter Mode is just an amazing card. It helps provide tempo, it helps provide aggression. I think 2 of it is the right number. I'm playing 1 copy of Dragon Mode. I decided to cut down on this card to make room for Magnamon X Antibody. So something that I don't see a lot of people doing in Imperial this format is choosing to include Magnamon X Antibody. You can, warp straight from Magnamon into it, which is really nice. It gives you a great defensive backbone, but if you have a Paildramon sitting there, and you swung twice with Paildramon and you didn't quite OTK your opponent, but you want to make sure the Paildramon sticks, you can evolve Paildramon into X Antibody for just 3 memory, right? If you used a Lightramon or a Magnamon to help Jawgrass to get the Paildramon, then you can get your Armor Purge effect to make the attack redirect to this Digimon. And if they kill this, then it just devolves back down into the Paildramon, you recover your security, and then your opponent has to delete the Paildramon in order to stop you from OTKing them on your next turn. So I do really like the Magnamon X Antibody. It provides a good defensive pivot that this deck did not have access to before. So I do highly recommend you try it at 1. I know I am right now, and if I like it a whole lot, like right now I'm really liking it, but I might decide to bump this card up. Going on to the Tamers. I got 2 copies of Davis Ken. Helps set up the OTK with the fighter mode, and it helps gain you extra memory here and there. And then I got 3 copies of Davis. Really good for finding your pieces. Something that you could decide to include is the Matt and Sora from the new set. You will be at over 8 cards in your hand a lot of the time, so this card will proc, but the problem is you are going to be at more than 8 cards in your hand after you've already gone off. And at that point, you don't really need to have more memory except to, as a failsafe. I want to make sure that I can get to my going off point, so I want to play the Davis instead to see my combo pieces. But if you do decide to play this, then you get access to cards like a Delicate Plan, which might be the play if Beelstar Turbo becomes a top contender in the meta. So look out for that. If you see a lot of security control in Beelstar, swap a Davis and probably a Hammer Spark out for 2 of these, and then find room for a Delicate Plan. But that ends the Digimon and Tamers. We're going into the options. Got a copy of HPD because it's at 1. We got a copy of Ice Wall because it's at 1. We got 3 copies of Hammer Spark because I didn't want to find room for 4. Also, I didn't want it clumping my hand. This is one of the decks that really needs to get its OTK setup a little bit faster than some of the other OTK setups in the board, because you need to be able to, if you don't kill them, also set up the Magnamon or the X Antibody. So you didn't really want cards clumping your hand, which is why I've only decided to play 3 Hammer Spark. But also, if I did have a card clumping my hand, I want it to be Megadeth. I've elected to play 4 copies of Megadeth because this is the sleeper pick of the format. If you are playing against Oriuken, or like Grandis, or Garurumon X Antibody, or any of these big scary OTK decks, and they don't have a way to protect their stack, Megadeth will end their entire career in your security. And that's really nice. Even if they have the protection, let's say they Breath of the Gods their Oriuken or something, or they have the Garurumon X Antibody in their Garuru stack, that would prevent it from being bounced back to hand. Well, you can still suspend it and bounce something else. So if they don't have the X Antibody, or if they've already used the X Antibody, then you've ended their OTK right then and there. The 4 copies of Megadeth and the 3 copies of Hammer Spark and the 1 copy of Ice Wall give me 8 really good security bombs going into an OTK format, so I do like that. But yeah, that's my Imperial list. I've rambled on long enough about the deck. If you want to know more about it, please ask me questions down in the comments. I will try to get to all of them. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say. See you guys next time, everybody. Bye, everyone.